Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations race at Laguna Seca in Group 4. So this race we were only allowed to go two cars, the Cayman or the Corvette. It ended up being pretty much a single make race with the Cayman as a little bit of extra tyre wear, and also I just think the car suited the track better. I much prefer the Cayman over the Corvette anyway, if I had the choice pretty much on the majority of tracks. So yeah, I was always going to go with the Cayman. That's why we did the track guide for the Cayman. This qualifying didn't go quite as well as some of the others. Now we had a bit of a nightmare in the early races. Qualifying was going pretty well throughout the day. This race P5, other races we qualified better. I think we done a 0.2 and we weren't going for slipstreams. It actually ended up being that this race didn't really suit. You could get a really good lap in if you nailed the lap in slipstream. However, I found that without the slipstream it actually felt a little bit better for me. So most of my faster laps were done without any sort of slipstream. This lap was a no slipstream lap in P5, and yeah, it was all about just trying to get the race sorted, because in the early races a bit of bad luck, some silly mistakes, and yeah, this race was pretty much the last chance to get a good result, because other than that, after this I knew that it would start fading off a bit, although I think the race after this was still quite high points. But we've got some very fast drivers in front of us. We've got Fire, Nico, PR1 wheel there. We're in P5. We've just got to try and keep it consistent and try and see if we can pick up a solid result. Now the aim here is to not make any mistakes in this race, as like I said, we had a bit of a nightmare, obviously with a bit of bad luck in some races. I think the annoying thing is, if we'd have got our race sorted earlier on in the day, I think we could have came away with about 360 points, 360, 370, because my pace was actually quite strong here. But yeah, unfortunately didn't quite go my way. But this race, let's see if we can make some sort of an attempt at keeping it on the track and trying to get some rhythm going. So yeah, we got Will right in front of us there, we've got Org right behind us, who was very fast around here in the Cayman also. Obviously Org drives Porsche quite a lot, so he was always going to be a fast driver in race conditions. Qualified just behind us. We managed to just squeeze ahead of Org and Dilster in qualifying at the last gasp with a bit of a better lap than what we had done. It wasn't a particularly amazing lap, but it just bumped me up from I think 7 to P5. So yeah, we're in an okay position. We're about 2 seconds behind Fire at the moment. Fire obviously known for his tyre saving ability, so I was pretty sure that Fire would be always considering his tyres all the way to the end of the race and would probably gradually pull away. But you can see Nico right behind him there, Stelios in front of PR1, Will and myself in P5 with Raw. Just a few attempts back there as we go over the line. We're going to skip through to the end of lap 2 now, as you see everyone just basically staying in a line behind each other. You see there now, we're coming to the end of lap 2. And you see that Will is going to go for a little bit of a dive on P3. Actually was a fair opportunity, the gap was there. Stelios turns in, not really seeing him. Don't think he expected it, but Stelios unfortunately picks up a 1 second penalty. So yeah, again, the game not really getting the penalty situation right. I don't think Will deserved the penalty, because I think it was a fair move, but I think Stelios really shouldn't have turned in. So in a way, he got the penalty because he turned in and wasn't aware of him there. We're going to take up the inside line now and try and get ourselves ahead of Stelios. A little bit of contact there, but we had the line. We tried to give him some space, a tiny bit of a nudge, but yeah, we made that move. He had a 1 second penalty as well, so I wanted to make sure I got past him. But Will runs very wide out of the right hand corner, getting a lot of dirt on his tyres. I knew that straight away, so I knew I had to hook this corner up and try and get a run down into this left hand corner. So you can see, going to the left, we're going to go for the move. We've got ourselves on the inside of Will. Will's kind of compromised there. Org takes advantage of that, manages to get himself up the inside there, as I think Will's still suffering a bit with them dirty tyres. It does seem to affect you for 2 corners at least. And now going into the fast left hand corner before the corkscrew, right behind us there, Org very close to the rear of the car, as we now got a bit of a gap to P1 and 2. You can see that we've not got the slipstream. We're about just under 2 seconds behind Nico there, and we've got we've got Org right behind us there, putting us under pressure. Really hooked the corkscrew up there, managed to get a nice drive over the hill and down through the corkscrew, and came out with a couple of attempts advantage over Org. So that should give us a little bit of cushion going into this left hand corner, which is an overtaking opportunity at Laguna Seca. So trying to make sure we hook this corner up in. Really important to get on the power nice, and it actually didn't do that particularly well. You can see I had to be very hesitant on the power, but it looks like we've got just about enough of a gap to hold Org behind us there. You need to be a little bit closer for the dive as we skip ahead now a few laps further on the end of lap 5, and we look behind in the mirror and we see Org go a little bit deep, leaves the door open. Will tries to take advantage of that. There is a little bit of contact there. I think it was fair that Will went for that move, but then he hit the sausage curve and a bit of a lag spike knocked Org off. Now I think Org didn't realise it was a lag spike and retaliated, which obviously he's not going to be aware of a lag spike. It did look worse without realising the lag spike was there. And then there was a little bit of argy-bargy going through the corner. Org squeezes Will out, Will spins the car, and yeah, I think it's something they need to sort out between them. We're not going to go into depth on that, but yeah, a little bit of aggressive driving from both of them. There was 50-50, there was a little bit of a push by Org. I'm sure they'll sort it out, and they're both clean drivers, so I'm sure they can sort that out. But now we've got Org right behind us there, 1.2, that's actually helped me out now. You can see that we've got the gap close to breaking the slipstream with Nico right in front of us there. Still about 1.8 seconds, 1.9 to 2 seconds ahead as we work our way up to the corkscrew. So I was wondering at this point, was Org going to get a penalty for what he did, because Will obviously did spin out. So I wanted to have a quick look as we came out the corkscrew, so we're going to quickly look behind. I spot the penalty, and that is good news for me, because although a second penalty isn't that bad here, because where the penalty zone is, as we see Fire up in the lead, also with a half a second penalty, it won't actually lose you that much, because it's right before the braking zone, so you actually only lose with a 1 second, probably about 4 or 5 tenths, but that should be enough to get rid of the slipstream. Although at this track, like I've said, when you've got the gap around 1 second to 1.5, I don't really think the slipstream's that good to be in, because you're not getting strong enough pull from the car in front. And yeah, you get a lot of dirty air at this track. Even in Group 4, it wasn't particularly nice to be in that slipstream, I found anyway. So yeah, you can see now we skipped ahead a little bit further. We've still got that gap to 1.6, 1.7 seconds. We've managed to hold Org off. He was around 1.7 all the time. We've managed to just keep him out of the slipstream. This lap had to be good. I think it was lap 8 there, 28.3. Not particularly the best lap I'd done. I'd done a 28.1 before that. And we've managed to hold the gap to Fire and Nico pretty much stationary in front of us there. No real gains them pulling away. I've not really gained on them. We've kept the gap pretty static to Org, but this lap we're on a purple sector for the first sector there, so we managed to hook that first sector up quite nicely, and now we've just got to try and push as much as I can really. This is all about consistency. So far in the race, you can see on the right hand side, the lap times have been consistent. I've drove pretty well. I've not really made any mistakes. Just the one on the final corner very early in the race. But we've got that gap up to 1.8, nearly 1.9 seconds to Org behind us. So this lap is actually looking like quite a strong lap as we go through the corkscrew, trying to make sure we hook that up on the power nice and early. I tended to like doing that in second gear. Some people liked it in third. For me, it worked better in second gear, and I was able to take more drive through the corners. We've got Nico there, still 2.2 seconds in front this section. So yeah, that right-hander there, I was really struggling with that until this race. I really started to hook it up, get on the power nicely, and started to get in the zone on the track, and started to really start pushing the car and understanding where I could gain time as we're going to go over the line. And yeah, 1 minute 27.9 with no slipstream in race conditions with slightly worn tyres. You can see, we're on lap 10 now, so the tyres have took quite a lot of wear, so that's quite good pace at this stage of the race. Obviously the fuel is coming down a bit, but still, to get in the 27s shows that the pace without a slipstream was 100% there for this combination. And yeah, I was really starting to get in the rhythm of it. You can see the way I'm driving the car. Again, that corner, I just preferred going down to second gear and then upshifting to third and getting a drive out of the corner. It was the way I do this track, and it suits me, and it was working for me in this one. You can see the gap still to PR1 Fire in front of the lead. Still only 3.7 seconds, and Fire's pace was actually quite strong at this point. You can see he's done a 27.6 in the race with the hard tyres, so he's not exactly slacking it. He's actually pushing quite well, and we've got Nico, who's also pushing very well, just 2 seconds ahead of ourselves as we're really pushing through that left-hand corner. Such a scary corner, so easy to run onto the gravel or the sand on the outside and totally bin it. And we've got Org right behind us there, still 1.8 seconds behind us, 1.9 seconds. It's slowly going up again after he got very close to that 1.5 seconds, but now it seems to be creeping closer and closer to that 2 second gap as I'm really getting a rhythm going on this track and keeping it nice and consistent. Actually, again, hooking that corner up, and I was actually gaining on Nico through there, which is nice to see, because that was the corner I was struggling on earlier in the races and also on the day before when we did the practice race. So yeah, really going well in this race. We're going to go over the line to finish lap 11, and we're just under 2 seconds, just over 2 seconds ahead, behind Nico, and 2 seconds ahead of Org now. So the race at this point is going very well. We're in P3, we're on that the podium position, the final podium position. We've just got to keep it nice and consistent as we pull a bit more on Org there, getting it up to 2.2 seconds as we're really starting to build a rhythm up even with the worn tyres. I think actually as the race was developing, the car was coming more to me with the lighter fuel load, and obviously a little bit more wear, maybe the way the car dynamic changes with the handling was actually coming back towards me a bit. As we've managed to see, as we skip a few laps ahead, we've got that gap up to Org. I think he might have picked up another penalty somewhere, but yeah, the consistency was absolutely spot on. You can see my lap times all below a 28.5 pretty much throughout the whole race. No dipping below that. The 27.9, a very solid lap, and now we've got that gap to Nico under the 2 second mark. This is the first time it's been under that since I think lap 3 or 4, when obviously we got past Will. So now we're going to try and push as much as I can. I know we only had a few laps left, but I was trying to give it my all here. You can see we've got Fire managing to pull away a little bit. He's managed to gain about a second in about 10 laps, which I'm going to be brutally honest, I was actually really happy with, because to only lose a second to someone as fast as Fire around this combination in Group 4, which is not really a strong class for me, really shows that the changes I made to the wheel in terms of the force feedback that I did in the video seems to have helped the Group 4 cars. That was one of the main reasons I changed a couple of the settings as well, was to try and make it a little bit better for Group 4 driving, and it seems to have worked. We're now holding that very tight line through there. That's the line that I really found worked to my advantage, and we've managed to get into the slipstream with 2 laps to go to Nico. But can we actually gain anything from here? This is a problem that I was finding with the slipstream, and one of the reasons why I didn't really want to go too much for slipstream in qualifying was that when you're in that 1.1 to 1.4 second range, it's actually very hard to gain on the car in front, because you just don't get the grip through some of these fast corners, and you don't get that much of a gain down the straight. You do get a gain, but it's not as strong as what you'd get if you were below the 1 second mark. So yeah, it's a little bit trickier, especially when the tyres are wearing. So having to drive a little bit more within myself and just trying to gain a bit on the straight. So you see we're down to 1.2 seconds. Fire pulling away a little bit more there. You can see he's up to 5 second gap. So he's managed to get that gap about 1.5 seconds faster from about lap 3 or 4 over myself. Maybe 2 seconds faster, but again, that I'm pretty happy that we were only that far off of him as we go through this right hand corner, trying to hook it up. We're coming up to the final lap. I didn't want to slack off. I wanted to make sure that we kept on pushing, because it's so easy to make a mistake here. If you even have a moment of lapse of concentration, that can catch you out, and I wanted to make sure I kept the pressure on Nico, as a little mistake could cost him the position and he could lose that P2 fairly easily round here. With the way the Cayman handles, the way the track is, it's easily done. So yeah, pushing right to the edge. You can see the gap increasing to P4. We've got that covered. I do not need to worry about P4. It's 100% going to be a battle to see if I can get myself into P2, although Nico is driving very well. Also, he's hooking up the corners, not making any mistakes. He doesn't need to overdrive the car, because he's obviously got Fire well and truly in the lead. He doesn't need to worry about trying to catch Fire. He's just got to try and keep it consistent, while I'm trying to catch while in that slipstream, which is good for the straights, but not so good for particularly this corner and the next one. I really didn't like being in the slipstream through them 2 corners. I found it very, it just wanted to understeer a lot more, and just didn't want to bite into the apex as we work our way through this fast left-hand corner, really pushing. You see Nico pushing very hard through there, and actually nailed that corner as I tried to keep it in the margins, and we lost maybe a tenth there. But going into the corkscrew, can we try and keep it on the track here and try and squeeze a bit more speed out of it? We managed to do it reasonably okay, and then again through this left-hander we gain a bit back on him, as that tighter line seems to gain a little bit on the delta, and then through this final, this second to last right-hand corner, again hooking that up nicely. I really nailed that corner through this race, and yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to do much going into the final corner. The gap is staying around 1.2 to 1.3 seconds as we work our way to the finishing line and come home in a very solid P3. So yeah, we finally got the race consistency sorted, and the race pace was pretty good. You can see we actually finished the race on 22:12, which, if you consider we started in P5, that is pretty. We would have had the pace to finish that under the 22:10 mark, which is pretty fast, I think, if we would have started right at the front. So yeah, solid pace. Shame it wasn't a bit more points than 333, but I was quite happy with that. Decided to call it a night on that. I think if I would have risked it for the next race, which I wasn't sure about the points, we could have got a bit more. But yeah, quite happy to take away 333 points and actually get a very solid driving at that combination. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the race. Let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. I'll see you again for more videos and live streams. Thanks again for watching, everyone.